Steeler Nation, we are back for another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports One. We have a very special guest, a four-time Super Bowl champion at that, but we want to give a big shout out to our sponsors before we get started with the show. And look what I just picked up today. Well, I actually picked up a lot of these.
Chug.
No. I'm saving this for Steelers Sunday. Why settle for a run-of-the-mill mass-produced beer when you can have the best? Upgrade your beer game, raise your standards, and taste the difference that Stoney's beer can deliver. And they did deliver, just like the Steelers delivered last Sunday with a victory. And, man, I'm set to go. I got about, 6 of these six-packs. I'll have to send you one over to South Florida. Just get the tailgate started off right. Stoney's beer, it's brewed in Latrobe. It doesn't get more Pittsburgh than that. Stoney's has taken over the Pittsburgh beer scene, and we're happy to be a part of it. So make sure you go and pick up your Stoney's.
Usually they say beer tastes better after Steelers win, but that beer tastes good all the time, win or lose.
Look, man,
it's delicious.
I'm decked out, man. So I really appreciate everything that Stoney's is doing in the Pittsburgh area, and obviously up at Latrobe, man. That's where it's brewed, and it's just Latrobe Steelers training camp, just a great place. So really excited to have them on board. And then we want to give another shout out to Brushes and Beans Cafe in Murraysville. Caffeinate and create in Brushes and Beans Cafe. Visit them at 4550 William Penn Highway in Murraysville. Go see our guy Mark over there, but just make sure you go down there and check them out. It's right in Murraysville. There's a back room for private parties. They have art, they have tea, and of course, they have the best coffee in Pittsburgh. So make sure you check out Brushes and Beans Cafe. Mike, we are just really, really excited for this next guest. I mean, how often do you get to talk to a four-time Super Bowl champion? And this guy is so humble. I met him at the Willie Throw event. So really, really fortunate to have him on the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. So what do you say we get to it?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
I'm really excited. An important guest today, not only on the field, but off the field. This is an individual that we're excited to teach people our age and younger a little more about. So let's bring him in and do just that. It's none other than, like you said, four-time Super Bowl champion, member of the Steel Curtain defense, JT Thomas. JT.
Hello, gentlemen.
There he is.
There he is. How are you, sir? Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm being the best me I can be.
Yeah, we're trying to do the same over here. Our best isn't as good as your best, though. I'll put it that way. We're thrilled to have you on today. And like I said, a lot of people our age will probably open the Steelers glossary, if you will, and see your name there in the Steel Curtain and what that team was able to accomplish. But maybe they're not going back to your Florida State days, which is really important to teach them about, of course, because what you did was absolutely unprecedented. You essentially broke the color barrier at Florida State. You get to Florida State in, 1969?
Correct.
You debut in 1970, and you're the first African-American player to ever play for Florida State. Tell me about I know you can't sum it up in a single sentence, but that experience, my goodness.
Yeah, it was a great experience. You have to understand, I grew up from Macon, Georgia. So I grew up in the 60s, and I grew up in the civil rights movement from age 10, and I'm from Macon, Georgia. So I'm in the heart of the South, the heart of the Jim Crow era. So it was part of my culture growing up. And I guess in my junior high school at age 14, I integrated myself and 12 other young men, integrated our junior high school. So you kind of like the children crossing the Jordan River. You're going in, you have no idea what's there, and there's no how-tos, there's no directions. The only thing you have is prayer. So you can imagine at 14, you're going into an environment that is unprecedented. So it was a learning experience, but I learned a lot, and it kind of prepared me for transition into college also. Because basically the 70s, or let's say the late 60s and 70s, you had a lot of things going on with the Vietnam War. We had Women Live, we had the drug, you had the civil rights movement on. There's so many things going on the campus and probably in America. So it was a very transformative time. In spite of all the transition taking place, it was a time of maturity and growth, and it built my character. It allowed me an opportunity to meander, I guess, through those times, and I look at the world different from probably you got to look at the world, obviously, because a lot of things didn't happen. I grew up on the back of the bus. I grew up at age 5, having to read water fountains white or colored, so those type of things. So I've even in college, you not having access to, although the civil rights movement or the civil rights bill had been passed in 64 and 65. The memo wasn't always transferred, so in terms of access, but it was a great experience. It built character, and you meet a lot of people, and the biggest thing, you change a lot of lives in that process. Yeah, and football was a platform to be an influence in the lives of a lot of people, thousands of people, really. Yeah, definitely.
We're hanging out with JT Thomas, a true trailblazer, of course, here on the Sick Podcast. Steelers crazy. How were you received at Florida State? I mean, those transformative years must have been, I don't know what the right word is, challenging, or like you said, a learning experience.
Imagine going to a foreign land. You have coaches. Yeah. You have coaches that have never dealt with an African American player, have never coached one. You have instructors, you have teachers, you have players that have never. Some had obviously in high school, but a lot of players had never been in a locker room or played with African Americans. So you have this newness that was in classrooms. This was in all aspects of campus, the dormitory. Living in dormitories. So you can imagine this whole integration process. You were invading a culture that where before you weren't allowed into. So you can imagine the differentials and culture, the learning curves there, and really it was a situation where you had to absorb your environment and learn everything about the environment because it was new to me, and obviously you have to find out exactly, well, okay, where do I fit in? What are the dangers? What are the fears? So and at the same time you have to be normal, a student, do all the things that you expect to do as a football player, as a student, and yet you actually meandering these new borders, that most kids go to college, that wasn't their I should say task to do that, just to be a student. But you can imagine, so it was but if that's all you know, that's all you know.
Sure.
So that's the thing about it. But it was I look back, it was a great experience. I met a lot of great friends, and it really made me who I am today. And really that background allowed me to maneuver, I guess, even into the pros, and even outside the pros, after pros, in business, whatever. All those skills developed allowed me to kind of maneuver through life, make relationships, do business, etc. Yeah.
Incredibly impactful off the field, but just as much on the field. You're a guy at Florida State that you're part of that DBU family. It didn't start with Deion Sanders over there. It started with JT Thomas. That's for sure. Yeah. We all know that. We all know that. But eventually, it's a nice transition. You mentioned you transitioning to the NFL. You're drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers after a wildly successful college career, 1973. You got to be this wide-eyed kid still, right? Did you know anything about Pittsburgh at the time? Had you ever been there?
When I was drafted by Pittsburgh, I had never heard of Pittsburgh. I hadn't talked to anybody from Pittsburgh. I hadn't seen a scout, coach, nothing, not a phone call. So when I got drafted by Pittsburgh, really I was asleep.
Yeah, you told me that story. Yeah,
I was asleep. I didn't have an agent. Although I knew I was going to the draft, but I had been traveling. I got back, the morning of the draft about 6 o'clock, so I missed the draft. I found out about, 4 hours after the draft, I was the number one draft choice. And at that time, I say, Pittsburgh, why Pittsburgh? They never had won except that year. That was Franco Harris' first year. So I never, thought about Pittsburgh, never seen Pittsburgh, except when we came to play the University of Pittsburgh, I think my senior year. But it never crossed my mind. But, it just, I was number one draft choice, so it was fate. And obviously, as, it turned out just a great opportunity, that I couldn't imagine, really, definitely.
It's great stuff. I remember you told me that when we had the live podcast, and I was just cracking up when you told me you were sleeping. I can't imagine being the number one draft pick and being asleep. But it makes for years later. It makes for a great story, right? Because look at everything that you accomplished. I want to talk about some of your former players. I'll just go one at a time. We'll start with Mel Blount. Just kind of sum it up. What was.
Yeah, Mel and I are close. Mel and I are both from Georgia. Our homes about 60 miles apart. Mel's from Vidalia, from Macon. I didn't know Mel until I got, came to the Steelers. But Mel was just a monument, a statue, very formidable character. He's probably about an inch taller than me, and he was probably about 10 pounds heavier. So, probably I would say, if I look at all defensive backs as probably one of the greatest defensive backs that did it all with Mel Blount. He could cover, he could support the run, and was just he thought he was a thoroughbred. He never thought he was really human. He thought he was a thoroughbred. He raced horses, but a very phenomenal athlete. And he was one of the guys that that's a part of a great team. It's hard to really look at when you look at a team like that to see who's great, because we're 11 all-pros on defense. So you couldn't afford a team like that today. Can you imagine having with T.J. Watts and Hayward, 11 of those guys on defense? Well, it would break the bank. So, but Mel, I would say, is of all cornerbacks, probably the best I've ever seen. I love Dion. Dion's a great cover guy. And Dion is probably the best athlete. I would say he's the best defensive back ever played, but he's the best athlete probably ever. But as probably one of the best cornerbacks, I would say Mel Blount probably could hold that position because of the coverage. He's a 4.4 guy in the 40, like we all were, but that wasn't his police speed, So, but in terms of the run support, as a complete player, a football player, probably Mel Blount is probably one of the best ever played the cornerback position.
Yeah. So what about Mean Joe Greene?
Oh my God. Well, Joe was one of those guys. He was the anchor, the cornerstone. He brought the attitude, and the Steelers allowed Joe to be Joe. Joe probably was the only guy on the team that wasn't. They probably didn't even think about getting cut. We come to camp every year. Chuck Noll's mentality was that when you come there, no matter who you were, you felt like you're gonna get cut that year. Even Franco. There probably was only one guy that felt that he would never thought about getting cut as Joe Greene. But Joe Greene was probably the foundation of the Steelers' attitude, the winning, the toughness, and was he mean? Yes, he was very mean. Now, he got nicer after he did that Coke commercial, but Joe was a tough guy. He set the tone, and he was ferocious. I mean, he'd done things from hit guys in the stomach, spit in guys' faces. I mean, things that you just don't do. If he played today, his fines will probably run somewhere up in probably $500,000 a year in fines. But he laid a foundation of winning that we all bought into. And I have to say, if you look at it, what made the steel curtain? What was the cornerstone? What was the roux it was Joe Greene.
Yeah. So I have two more before I throw it back over to Mike. Jack Lambert and Jack Ham.
Well, Jack Ham was a guy that's a great athlete. I don't think Jack really knew the plays half of the time. I mean, he was kind of a guy like he was just glad that you see this guy that's glad to be in the huddle. Like, okay, guys,
happy to be there.
Yeah, he's jumps in, he's just looking around, all excited to be there. And too often, for some reason, he lined up and he was looking back at me, shaking his hands. Well, I mean, he never got the coverage or didn't know the coverage. And half of the time, we used to say that Jack was kind of the guy that never ran the play. He played football, and which is a good thing. Great football players never run the play. It's called. You play what you see, and the play is secondary. If you're running the play, and something that we learned, and I think our coach kind of instilled in that, but Jack just naturally never ran the play. That's why the coverage was half of the time. But he reacted what he saw. But a super athlete. Great in run support, blitz. A Hall of Famer. Jack Lambert is a very intelligent guy. Very intelligent at the same time, very ferocious. If you're going down the alley late at night, take him with you. You're probably guaranteed to come back, But he was the signal caller, and a guy that was tough, had a lot of range, just a great athlete, and really he kind of commanded the attention in the huddle for the most part. I mean, he conditioned us, and I was thinking about it a few years ago psychologically. While we played so ferocious, before every play, I don't know why he did it. He would say 3 and out, and he would say, "Okay, guys, 3 and out." Then they call stunt 4-3, cover C, and so we got used to hearing this 3 and out. So in our mind, it's just 3 plays. We're out of here, and so I didn't think about that mental condition of hearing 3 and out, which is what is 3 plays. So you gave 1,000% on those 3 plays, but it was always the goal 3 and out. So and that had a lot to do with the psychology of how we were playing every series, because in our mind it wasn't the second series; it was 3 plays and out. So and I thought about that, the effects of that. You're thinking 3 plays and out, which means on these plays here, we're gonna shut you down. Yeah.
You didn't have a backup plan.
Huh?
You didn't have a backup plan.
No, but that whole psychology there that he brought, and it was about winning. It was mean. It was tough, but at the same time, everybody cheered each other, because what happened, Chuck Noll made sure that here's your strength, here's your weakness. Okay. Well, he has your strength and your weaknesses, and vice versa. So now you're cheering for each other because he got your weakness with his strength. So now you become a cheerleader for Donnie Shell because he's compensating for what you don't have. So I'm gonna cheer him on because he's covering my ass, and vice versa. So you can see the harmony that created when you realize what your teammate means to you, that he's covering you. You're going to cover him. So you have a whole different attitude as opposed that it's not about me, it's about us. It's about dependency on each other.
Yeah, before I do throw it back over to Mike, I wanted to talk about, in what year, 1976, you were a Pro Bowl. How cool was that experience?
It was cool because, you imagine there were 3 other all pro defensive backs in the secondary. So I'm sitting home watching them go, and I finally got the opportunity to go in 1976. And that was the challenge because I was the youngest of the defensive back. So you can't take all 4, but they did eventually. But you can see with the Steelers team, how do you send all these guys to the Pro Bowl every year? So someone gets screwed in that process, and that was part of the dynamics on the team now in terms of Hall of Fame. I mean, who do you put in the Hall of Fame? Back then, they only, out of the 49 players, they focused on probably 7 guys, the media. And we didn't have the technology, and the platforms today where, there was 3 cameras. So typically, after the game, there's probably 7 players that get the media. And now you got 42 guys that they were just there. No, they weren't there. But it was just the nature of the time, that the media was the media at the time. Yeah. So it was a different game, but it was great. It's fun. It was something that.
That's still in Hawaii?
Huh?
Was that still in Hawaii?
What's that?
The Pro Bowl.
At one time it was. They moved it around from different cities, for the most part. Yeah. But the Pro Bowl was it's where you meet all the greats. Guys who played against during the season, guys that even some of your college teammates. So it's really guys there to enjoy each other and talk crap and tell the fish story and what they're going to do to you next year, that type of deal. Yeah.
We're here with 4-time Super Bowl champion JT Thomas. Hey, where do you keep the rings? Where are those 4 Super Bowl rings?
They're upstairs in a cigar box.
Yes, I'm sure well protected.
Well, the rings they're great. Obviously, like I only wear one. I haven't worn another 3 since I got the 4th one, but it's kind of more a memory, but it's more the relationships, than the rings. The rings are great, but what you remember more is the camaraderie, the relationship that you create over the years, and the bonding, with a lot of great men that I look at them as different than maybe you guys. You look at them as superstars because their weaknesses, their strength, their shortcomings, and we grew up together, as a young man, and went through about 10 years together our lives. So it's I look at them totally different,
Got a couple more questions for you here. I'm sure you've been asked this a number of times, but probably never gets old giving your feedback on this. Obviously, the game has changed plenty. What advice would you give young athletes today, maybe in high school, that high school level, heading into college? You have things like NIL now as well impacting things. If somebody came up to you and said, hey, listen, you're a vet, you're a Super Bowl champion, tremendous player, what advice do you have for them?
Well, I think football is a great game. I would tell people if you want to pursue that, do so. But remember, it's a short career. You have to have something that lasts after the average 4.2 years of the game. It's today you can make a lot of money, and you can make, I'm gonna call it career money. When I played, it was job money. We used football it was a springboard. I never looked at it as a career. The attitude was we get 5 years, you get vested for a pension, and you get into your life work. Today, if you get 5 years and you're a top draft choice, you're probably set for life. But I would tell them, young kids, you need an education because football can be taken away from you. Knowledge cannot be taken away from you. You always one play from retirement. It's a great game, and if you have the skill set, go forward. But don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think that you have to have a life, and you have to have something beyond football. Football is only a means, to an end, and it brings you a lot of joy and fun, but it may not. I don't think it will complete your life. Because what happened, I would say never allow football or any sports to identify you. You have to find something more substance than sports to be identified by. Because people forget about you. You can't run, you can't jump anymore. But I think so. You need to be defined by something that is a little more sustaining, and that can take you from life to the end of life. and that's not football.
I think the Steelers could use a little corner help. I think you could get out there and jump and run. Are you kidding me? Well, come on.
I wish. I watched the Mel Blount and I talk about the DB play today. It's a little different. It's a little softer. They're not physical. They do things that I see that they don't make any sense. They put themselves in harm's way. But like I say, they are playing different techniques than we play today. And but yeah, there are some things that some things don't change, But it's like anything else. I think there's some things they could do that they don't know. I guess all the secrets that we had, they weren't passed on. So there's a lot of secrets on the corner play that I could see. I see Joey Porter. You can anticipate what's going to happen to a player by the lineup, his movement, what he's reacting to, and back then the biggest difference, they don't jam today. They don't try to get the jam. They just turn and run, and that, which is something we wouldn't have done. Because you have to understand, the psychology of our era was this: we couldn't play zone well. We didn't like playing zone. So we were conditioned man to man, so we felt comfortable man to man. I think it's just the opposite today. They feel very uncomfortable in man to man. They play a lot of zone, and so it's that's the difference. We didn't play a lot of zone, and so we were bad at it for the most part, and felt uncomfortable. So yeah.
Sounds like Joey Porter Jr. has impressed you, though, right?
Oh yeah, he has the skills, and he's wearing my number. He better do it justice. Obviously, I've been seeing it done justice since I left, really. But I'm not going to talk about that. Some guys are okay with it, but
you think he would at least ask?
Say it again.
You think he would at least ask for your number?
Well, yeah, he should have got permission or something, I say, Mr. Thomas, do you mind? I would do your jersey justice here. No, Joe is a great athlete, a lot of potential. I think that he's young, and I think that's one of the problems the Steelers have right now, offensively and defensively. They are so young, and there's. I guess the question: who are the leaders out there? Like, especially on offense, you got some good players on offense. It's no leader, so you look for who's the leader. You have to have a leader there, and I think that's one of the things. One of the shortcomings, they lack leadership. They have great athletes out there, and that will take time, no doubt about it. Yeah, I think. But Joey Porter, I do like. I like the way Joey Porter has the size, the speed, and I think if and his father can give him a lot of advice. I hope he doesn't try to, up his dad. With the trash talk. But I think he's a great athlete. I think he got a great future. If he as he mature and get his head put on, because he's a baby. He got carnation on his breath. He doesn't know it yet.
Oh man, we just really want to thank you for coming on. I think that our fans will really appreciate, hearing your expertise. And I know we talked about it when I met you at the event, but yeah, just, our viewers would love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, basically what I'm doing now, I'm a rum ambassador for a company out of Key West called Poar Rum. And basically what I do, I actually go around and be an ambassador in Pennsylvania and introduce Poar Rum. It's rum is Poar is Ernest Hemingway nickname.
Okay. And
so it's named after Ernest Hemingway, fashioned after him as an adventurer. And like I say, we are based in the Steelers are in Florida, Key West, and we're in every state. We came into Pennsylvania about a year and a half ago. Ohio was the last 2 states. So what I do, I go around, do tasting and hugging and kissing and tasting with restaurant tours, and the whole our game is to get our product hopefully next year into the state stores. It's a process to get into the state stores. So right now I go directly to licensees and they get into their stores via the special order. So I do cigar bars, restaurants, chain restaurants, the stadiums. You know, anyone that got liquor licenses, I try to get the product in there, and once it's in there, they love it. It's a great product, and so called Papa's Pilar.
Well, that's great stuff. I do have one request though. Next time you come on, we got to see them Super Bowl rings. I know that you don't like showing them off and you're humble, but we'll save it for another time. Hey,
Okay,
JT.
Mr. Thomas, I got to mention really quickly, you and my fiance have something really important in common. You're
okay.
both Florida State Seminoles. Is
Oh,
this the year?
oh, hey, you're a smart guy, man. I'm really impressed with you. I mean, you are an intelligent man.
Is this the year, by the way? They're fantastic. I'm sure you keep it up.
I was there for homecoming this past weekend.
Yeah.
They played
Wow.
Duke, and it was fantastic. And matter of fact, I have a nephew that plays as a running back, number 26. Matter of fact, he's wearing my college number. That was just ironic. He was at Pitt last couple of years, and he transferred not Pitt, but at Penn State. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He went from Penn State down to Florida State. His name is Keziah Holmes. He scored that first touchdown last night. Last Saturday when they played.
That is
Duke.
so cool.
Yeah, but give your fiance a Seminole comrade, hoot for me, man. I appreciate that. Definitely.
She's going to enjoy hearing about this for sure. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Thomas.
you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll
Take
do it
care.
again. Go Knowles, chop on. We'll
Okay,
chop on
guys.
with you. We'll chop on for you. There you go. Yeah, it's rare that he probably was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Your fiance and I have something in common? That's a weird transition. But I mean,
Florida
pleasure,
State,
man.
I think it could be the year for them. So always cool. It's just like, he's such a humble guy too. Like I remember when I met him at that event, and he's like, I won the Super Bowl 4 times. And I'm like,
You're like,
okay. And I was like, where's the rings? He's like, they're in storage. I'm like,
yeah. It's a good place to keep my guess. It's tough to flaunt 4 of them. It's like brass knuckles at that point.
Yeah.
Hey, you know it's close to Tallahassee, Florida State? It's kind of close.
What's that?
Jacksonville. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming to town this weekend for a really big game.
Well, I guess we have to give our predictions, right?
We got to give our predictions before we get out of here. And I also, after our predictions, we'll leave with some sponsors because I know I want to talk a little bit about some great partnerships we have as well. But yeah, first let's talk about our thoughts on this game. It's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
So you tweeted it out earlier this week or whenever it was, and Jacksonville has our number in Pittsburgh. We all know that, and they're a surging team right now. The Steelers, believe it or not, despite whatever the product that we put on the field, we're 4-2. So I think that this game really will turn the needle. You're going into, I just tweeted out today about, we have lesser opponents coming up, even though that those are the trap games, as we like to call them. But I think that this is really a statement game for the Steelers. Yeah. You're coming back home, you're kind of getting the mojo on offense. The defense, obviously, has always been there. Obviously, hopefully we can get some better cornerback play. But rather than that, I think that this is going to be a win for the Steelers. I don't know, man. There's just something in the water in Pittsburgh and the Allegheny and the Three Rivers. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling good. I called the Jaylen Warren touchdown last week. So I'm going to say, I feel like everyone who predicts, even like the people on CBS and all the mainstream guys, they're always like 24-17. You know what? I'm going to call this right now. I'm going to say that the Steelers are going to break the curse and they're going to get over 400 yards on offense.
Whoa.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to go Steelers 35, Jacksonville 27.
35 points. Oh, my gosh.
It's bound to happen, man. It's bound to happen.
You broke the internet. 35
and a George Pickens touchdown.
Fell out of my chair right here. 35 points. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, let me tell you about something first before I give my prediction, a little teaser that maybe can help the Steelers win. If you purchase their merchandise, similar to, or I should say a brand that creates merchandise that'll help you root on the Steelers, it's shopyins.com. Check out Jordan's hat. Check out my hat. This is the #1 brand for Pittsburgh sports. Legitimately, all black and gold, all the time, baby. Use the code SICK15. These guys are blowing up. They have an awesome new shirt, Victory Monday. Hopefully we're wearing that come Monday once more. 15% off your entire purchase when you get that Victory Monday t-shirt. Shopyins.com with 2 Z's and no minimum purchase necessary, Jordan. So I'll say a couple of things. One, I'm going to pat myself on the back because the last 2 seasons I've nailed the Steelers record correctly. I think I'm going to nail it correctly this season again. 10-7. I'm sticking with it. Going to nail it again. However, my pick-by-pick weekly has not gone so hot this year. The last 2 games, I predicted them to lose against Baltimore, predicted them to lose against the Rams. Guess what they did? They won both games. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to predict them to lose. I'm going to predict them to lose. So I think Jacksonville comes into Pittsburgh, high-flying offense. They're going to be really well-rested. They had 10 days off after the Thursday night win against the Saints. This is a 5-2 team. They are really, really good. Playoff team last year, of course. Trevor Lawrence at the helm. He's going to be healthy. Options galore. Ridley, Ingram, Kirk on the outside there. I think the Steelers will definitely have a good offensive day because they're going to need to keep up in a shootout. But I'll go 27-21 Jags. It's a nice hedge of the bet. I'd like to come back and say I was wrong 3 times in a row. But if they do ultimately lose, then you know what? I finally get one right. But remember, 10-7 at the end of the day. Here's one thing you can definitely do as well, JY, which is really important to mention. I know you're going to talk about it here in a second, but right now the Jags are a slight favorite. You could bet on this game, right, with DraftKings.
Yeah. You know, string together multiple bets from the same game or build your parlay across multiple games for a shot at making it. You know, NBA's even starting as well. So now you can use our code 6sports, $5, get you $200 in bonus bets on any NFL bet. But that's the thing. Like, you know, we're a Steelers podcast, but you can bet on cricket. You can bet on tennis. Don't tell my wife that. You know, just the crown is yours at DraftKings. Visit, you know, DraftKings.com, download the app. You can do it from your computer, the app, everywhere. I kind of like having, you know, all my bets up on the desktop so I can just like check back. It's like my little spaceship. But make sure that you use our code 6sports and make yourself some money. Christmas is coming up. You know, start a little fund, a DraftKings account. Tell your friends, grandmother, aunt, uncle, whoever, they're coming in from town, make them some money. You know, you'll go from the black sheep to the, you know, the golden child.
I like that. I like that a lot. And listen, if you're ever sitting back at home or listening to us or watching us, we know we have a lot of great viewers and you're like, damn, these guys have a lot of sponsors. It's because we like to support local too, right? These are our choices over here. We like to support people like Stoney's, Shopyins, and of course, Steel City Wheelhouse. I mean, how can we leave out John and John at the end of the day? We are supporting local all day, every day here, especially with the Pittsburgh ties.
It's
Steel
literally
City
where
Wheelhouse,
Jalen Warren gets his car done. So if
it's that simple.
Take it from number 30 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's where the bar is set. Tires for all cars and trucks can now be purchased online at steelcitywheelhouse.com, and financing is available. John and John over there just doing great things, taking over the Pittsburgh car scene. I just know so many, you know, great customers that went there and rode off in style. And of course, number 30 goes. So why shouldn't you?
Well said. Absolutely well said. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to JT Thomas. Hopefully a really impactful interview. You learn a little something new. Go write a paper on him if you're in high school.
He's a great guy, a true trailblazer.
True trailblazer for sure. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. Make sure you catch up on the Jalen Warren show that we recorded earlier this week. So much fun. Talked about that touchdown. Talked about that victory over the Rams. Let's hope Steelers can get another one. Drink some Stonies. Wear some Shopyins. Get your tires fixed and bet on DraftKings. All right. We'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.